Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited about this video because it's been a really long time since I did my foundation routine. But this is just the updated version on what I do now and versus like different products, different ways, and how I cover up my acne and my spots that I have on my face that I just don't like on there, and I just don't want them to be showing. If you're interested in how I cover up all that acne and stuff, just keep watching. Alright, so I do have my face already prepped and ready to go. I put moisturizer on. This is the moisturizer that I put on my face mainly because my face has been breaking out quite a bit here lately, and this one seems to kind of help not break out so much. But yeah, so the foundation that I'm going to be using is a full coverage, like full-on foundation, full coverage foundation, and it is the Estēe Lauder Double Wear. This is in 2C1 Pure Beige. I think this is a little bit light, like just a hint light for my skin, but it doesn't matter because it burns my face up anyway. I'm going to be putting this with this. I don't necessarily like this one with like a brush. I find that it leaves a lot of streakiness. I don't know if it's just where it's so full coverage, but that's kind of how I feel about it. And I also don't prime my face. I don't use primer with this particular foundation. Again, I don't know if it's just where it's such a full coverage foundation that the primer just I kind of feel like it is real splotchy on my face whenever I use a primer with it, but that's just my personal preference. My sister uses the same foundation with the primer, and she says she likes it a whole lot better with the primer. So, I mean, to each their own. I think she also uses a brush with it, and she likes it with a brush. So, to each your own, really. You just have to experiment on what you like the best. But this is just how I kind of like to use it. But I do use a damp beauty sponge. Any sponge will work. This is just the RealTechniques one. This is one of my favorite because it does have the flat end on it. This is just how I start off, and this is, I poured too much. But I just poured some on the back of my hand, and I used the sponge to pick it up just like that. And I put a little bit on the sponge. I try to start off with a little bit at a time. I move my mirror over here so I can see. And I place the product on the most problem areas because that's where I want the most product to be. Just to get my hair out of the way. I'm going to use this. I hope it's not too much of a distraction. My mini ears. But I'm just going to put this kind of pat motion. I'm going to be bouncing this on my face. I'm first starting in the problem areas, and then whatever's left on the sponge I will take and bring out. Which a lot of my problem areas are normally on the inside part of my face. And I'm just bouncing this up and down, spreading the coverage. And then like on my forehead, because I don't really have, I have a couple of red spots, but I don't really have anything that I'm really trying to cover up tremendously. I just kind of bring in the center of my forehead, and then I spread that out evenly everywhere. And like I said, I'm just bouncing this on my face. I'm not rubbing it or anything, because if you rub the foundation on the areas where you want it, you will you'll rip the sponge first off, because I've done that before. More or less trying to experiment on how well this thing works if you rub it in. But you'll rip the sponge, and or you'll just be swiping your makeup all around, and it won't really be placing it anywhere specifically. You also want to take this down the neck, especially if it doesn't match. And I'm just kind of taking the rest that's on my sponge and kind of putting this everywhere. Okay, now with that done, I do let it sit for a couple of seconds, nothing too long, and I kind of let it just sit and dry just for a little bit, and then I will take a little bit more of the foundation and pour it on the back of my hand, which I know you guys can't see. I poured way too much again. Oh well. But I pour a little bit more on the back of my hand, and I just pick up a little bit and I start like where I started my face, on which side, because it's going to be the most dry. I start on this side, and I kind of just layer just over the areas that need the most coverage. Like my spots that are on my cheek right here, down here on my jaw. And then I move to the other side because that's where I started. Or that was the next place I started, I mean. And then I just kind of just bounce this in areas that just need it the most. To kind of help build up that coverage. Alright, so now that I have my foundation and stuff on, I'm going to move on to concealer. Sometimes I will use a runny concealer and put it under my eyes and everything like that. And then sometimes I will use like just one concealer and do everything all together. I don't really care if my under eyes are brightened or not sometimes, especially if I'm just going and picking up my kids from school, or if I'm just going to the grocery store. It's not really a big deal. This is more or less just like everyday thing that I would do, but I'm just gonna go ahead and just do what I would normally do. And if you guys want more of a glammed up foundation, kind of what I would do if I was to go on a date or something, I can do that for you guys too as well. Just let me know down in the bottom in the comments area if you want to see that. If not, it's okay. But this is kind of just what I do on a daily basis of just stuff that I'm just not really going out and doing anything much. But this is just to cover up spots mainly. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and do my concealer now, and I am using the Bye Bye Under Eye from itCosmetics, or itCosmetics, I put an S in there, but itCosmetics. This is just what it looks like, and I am in, I don't know, oh here we go, Natural Medium is this color right here. It is a little bit lighter than what I would like it to be, but this is the only foundation, but the only concealer that I have that is actually close to my skin tone color, so this is the reason why I'm going to use this one. I like the consistency of this because you can dilute it down, or you can really layer it real good to cover up the spots. I only stick like literally like a pea-size amount on my hand, and that will do the entire face, no joke. This stuff is very pigmented and it covers very well. I highly recommend this. This is just a travel size that I got in my Ipsy bag. The actual sizes you would buy from like Ulta or whatever would be bigger than this, so it will last a very long time. But I'm just going to stick this over top of the spots. Using the pointed end of my beauty sponge. I like this one because it's got a pointy end and then it's got a flat end. I use that side for foundation. I use this side for my concealer, and I use the pointy end to just pick up a little bit of the product on the very tip end, and then I just kind of bounce it. I'm not really moving it around, but I just kind of bounce it and let it even out all the concealer that's it's placing down. And I take the first spot that my concealer hits is where I need the most coverage. That way the most pigmentation gets where it's supposed to be. Like I have some spots here, but I will spread it out and then I just bounce it, and wherever it lands, and it covers so well. I love this concealer, guys. Definitely something to think about picking up if you are looking for a good concealer. I'm just going to use this to bounce it around on the areas I need the most coverage. My nose is one of the places that need it the most. And I also use this because it is a little bit lighter than my actual skin tone. I will use this for like highlighting certain areas that need to be highlighted, like down my nose. over my Cupid's bow. And I'll even take it around my nose even to get rid of some of that redness. Just gonna take this up on my forehead. Put this on the spots that just won't go away with just foundation. Okay, and that pretty much covers literally like all my spots. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to be going back into that, and I'm just going to take this underneath my eyes, but I'm not going to be putting a lot on the back of my hand. I did use every bit of that for covering all my spots, and I'm just going to take another, just this time like half a pea size. Just like that is all you really need, because it's just going underneath the eyes, no big areas. And I'm just going to take a little bit on my beauty blender thing, and I'm just going to layer this underneath my eye just to kind of brighten that area up. Because like I said, I'm not really doing anything today, and this is how I would normally wear my makeup anyway, even on the weekends if we don't really do anything. This is just kind of how I would wear it. Just because I'm not really doing anything special, I guess. Just patting this all up and underneath the eye, because I just want to cover up that area so well. And it gets rid of dark circles very well. Love that stuff. Okay, so now that I've pretty much got my headbands killing my ears, but now that I pretty much got everything covered, on some days I will wear, as far as like setting my face with powders, you don't want to use anything that's going to cake up your face, because where you want the most product to be is your concealer and your foundation. The powder is just to set it, more or less, not really to help add any more coverage, because if you start adding more coverage using your powder, you're going to wind up caked up in some areas, especially if you have fine lines like I do underneath my eyes. It's a nightmare. But the powders that I like using is let me find my other one. Okay, so the powders that I like using is for high end is the Mercier, especially underneath the eyes. This does help brighten up and stuff like that. It's translucent, yeah, translucent, and I really like using this even all over the face. The second one that I like using is the Rimmel London Stay Matte. It's just drugstore. It's the long wearing. This is in Sandstorm. It's a little light for my skin right now, so I'm not going to use it today, but this is the one that I would normally use, and I would just take a fluffy brush, dab it in. I'm not swirling it around or nothing or packing product on the brush, but just kind of dab it in and just kind of putting it on my face on where I need powder, or if I just want it all over. But today I'm going to be using, this is my all-time favorite powder. I've really been liking this here lately, and this is the NYX HD Studio finishing powder. This is in translucent as well, and it is a very finely milled, and this is the packaging, and I really want to use the one I really like to get the one that's kind of pressed, but this is just loose powder. I'm not really good with loose powders. Like, this stuff gets everywhere, especially because it's so finely milled, but it is white, and I will pour a little bit out. As you can see, it just pours out, but it is white, and it's just really finely milled, and it goes on the skin, and it makes everything so smooth and just radiant looking, and it does give you kind of a natural looking glow or like a dewiness to your skin. So I do like using this, and I'm going to go ahead and use this one just because this is the one that I have been liking here lately. This is just the NYX one, by the way. I don't know if I said that. I probably did. But I'm just going to be using a fluffy brush. This is just a no-name brush. It's just your typical powder brush. It's fluffy, big. And I'm going to be using this. All I do is just dab it inside. I knock off the eyes. As you can see, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but there's just like clouds of dust everywhere. And then instead of just swiping it on, because if you're like me and you have you have acne or spots or anything that you're trying to cover up, you don't want to just start swirling this on the skin, because it will move your concealer and your foundation around, and it will cause it to show those spots a whole lot more. And so the trick is to pat this on, and like I said, with the concealer and the foundation, the most product that you want it to land on is the area where you have the concealer, and then the rest that's on the brush itself can kind of just go everywhere to set everything else. With a light hand too. You want to use a very light hand to do this. because even though you're pushing down, you can still move the product around, and it can cause it to shift and uncover those areas that you just used concealer to cover up. You don't want none of that to show. I'm just patting this everywhere. I'm setting every bit of that powder. And I don't know if the camera's picking it up at all, but you can kind of see, there's dust everywhere, but you can kind of see a glow to my skin on where this powder just has such a beautiful, like just a radiance, and it makes everything feel so smooth too, and this powder lasts all day. Alright, so as far as like now my face is pretty much set, everything is good to go. I didn't set my eyes or my under eyes because I crease real bad, and what I do for that, if you have this problem, is I'll just take whatever, it being a brush or being the sponge, I take the pointed end of the sponge and I will just run this, like just bounce it over top of the area that has crease to kind of clean up that crease. And I already have my powder ready, and I will just pat that on there and set it. That way it does not crease anymore. Do the other eye real fast. And then those eyes are pretty much set on the eyelids. As far as the underneath goes, it's basically the same thing. I'll just tip my head down to where I can actually see like the lines. You can kind of see them. I don't know if the camera is picking it up. I hope they are. But you can kind of see lines under my eyes. I'll just take my beauty blender or sponge or whatever I'm using and kind of just tap a lot of that out. Or you can even use your finger for this part. And I will take some of that powder, that same powder, and just kind of run it up and underneath, which I recommend a smaller brush. I'm just using this one. But you can run it up and underneath, and it just kind of sets that area. That way you don't have any more creasing. Which I'd say a smaller brush would probably keep it from creasing really good. But I don't want to pack any of this on because, like I said, it's white, and I am definitely afraid that if I was to pack this on anywhere, it would definitely have a white like haze to it. Alright, so my foundation is basically done at this point. I would start with contouring, bronzing up the face, doing my eyebrows and all that stuff. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video on how I do my acne covering foundation routine. But yeah, that's basically it on how I do my face anymore, and how I get like flawless looking skin and ready, prepped and ready to go for the rest of my makeup. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're not already, please hit that subscribe button down below and hit that like button if you like these kind of I don't want to say know-how, but like me show you what I particularly do on my face as far as a routine goes. Hit that like button so I know to do more of these videos, like maybe my eyebrows or just contouring and highlighting and stuff like that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys!